Well, hello there, my name is Vladimir, welcome to my home studio. Today we are checking out the Nux Solid Studio app. In my Nux Solid Studio demo I mentioned that the company is building an app which will allow you to load your own impulse responses into this pedal, and here it is, somewhere over here. I've connected the Solid Studio to my Mac using a USB cable, standard kind of USB and micro USB cable. And what's cool about this software is that it reacts to everything what I do in the pedal. Basically it happens in the software as well. So if I adjust the master volume, you can see it moving, the power amp drive, the presence control. I can change the power valves / tubes depending in where depending in where you live. Depending where you live, that's how you say it, I think. The microphones as well, and all of that stuff. There's a couple of things they've added to the app. There's something called space control, which I'm not sure what it does. We'll figure it out together. And then obviously it will allow you to upload your own impulse responses into it, which we'll check out in a few seconds. Let me quickly run you through the signal. From the guitar, the signal goes to the Callan Pure Sky Overdrive, which features as our kind of preamp, and I just wanted to play with an overdrive sound. From there it goes to the Solid Studio, and I'm using the kind of line out, which goes to my audio interface. And I'm also using the through connection, which basically bypasses everything this pedal does. And from there, the signal goes to my 2-note Torpedo Live, and we are going to do some comparisons very soon. I think we could start with some basic sounds. We'll switch to one of my favorite settings, which is the dynamic 421 microphone and the green backloaded 4x12 cab. And the Solid Studio sounds like this. I'm adding just a little bit drive from the power amp section. Without the overdrive, it sounds like this. As you can hear, you can actually drive the power amp just a bit. I like it around here. And back to the overdrive. Let me back down again just a bit. So as I mentioned, anything you do over here, it also shows up on the screen, and that's really cool. And let's check out the space control first, because I'm not sure what it is actually. So the space at kind of 0. And let's just go all the way up so we can hear if there's anything. To me, that sounds like there's some sort of kind of room reverb thing going on. I like it. I'm not sure whether you can save this per preset. I haven't figured that out anywhere. Moving on to something that you're really here for, which is uploading your own impulse responses into this pedal. So basically, as I mentioned in my Solid Studio demo, every kind of setting on the cabinet selection and the microphone position switch and the rotating switch for all the microphones, all of those are kind of preset slots, and all the combination of these allow you to have, I think, up to 192 presets, which should be more than enough for anyone. And I'm selecting a cabinet and a microphone that I don't really use because that's a good place for a preset slot. So basically I'm taking the base 4x10 cab and the C3000 microphone, and I already kind of picked a cabinet or custom impulse response. This is a Mesa Boogie Rector 4x12 by Own Hammer, and the bit depth or sample rate for this is 44.1 kilohertz. This is something that the company recommended me to use, so we're going to go with that. And within a couple of seconds, you can see that the EQ curve changed, and the whole thing is there now. So we can take a listen. That not only sounds really good, but I love the power amp simulation on this pedal. It sounds good, and more important, it feels good to play. There's kind of interaction between you and the guitar and everything, and I love it. Really good job with this. Just for comparison's sake, I also have the same exact cabinet uploaded into the Torpedo Live's impulse response loader, and I'm also using a power amp simulation which should be similar to what's on Nux Solid Studio, and we're going to compare the sounds right now. I gave both clips a quick listen, and both sounds are good, and I would be happy to play live or record with either of those. As you can see, I'm also using the EQ on the Torpedo Live software because I also have a kind of presence control over here. So I boosted a little bit of the highs and cut out a little bit around the 360 Hz section just to get a bit more open sound. Overall, I do prefer the power amp simulation on the Solid Studio. It just feels a bit more open, for lack of a better term. But I also have to admit that I haven't really played with the power amp simulation on the TuneNote software because I've been using the Torpedo Live with an actual amp, and I don't need the power amp simulation for anything. Let's actually go super nerdy on all of this and try to eliminate everything else besides the impulse response loading functions on the Solid Studio and the Torpedo Live software. Be right back. Boom! With the magical power editing, there's an amp over here now. And I'll try to explain you this setup. Hold on tight, it's a bit complicated. So from the guitar, the signal goes to the Caline Pure Sky, and from the Caline Pure Sky, the signal goes to the front end of the Uralton Junior. From there, I'm using a speaker cable and go from the speaker out into the Nux Solid Studio. And from the Nux Solid Studio, I'm using the output that goes into the audio interface. Also from the through connection, I'm using a second speaker cable that then goes to the TuneNote Torpedo Live. Both the Nux Solid Studio and the Torpedo Live host exactly the same impulse response. So basically this setup should allow us to hear the kind of front end and power section of the amp. And both the Solid Studio and TuneNote Torpedo Live both handle the cabinet emulation part using exactly the same impulse response. The only difference is the kind of sample rate. On the Solid Studio, it's 44.1 kilohertz. On the Torpedo Live, it's 48 kilohertz. And if there are any differences, I would say they come from the fact that the Torpedo Live also handles the power scaling or kind of loading down the amplifier. So that might create some sound differences. Let's give it a listen. So I gave both clips a listen again, and there's a tiny bit of kind of digital clipping happening on the Solid Studio. I'm not 100% sure why, but nothing too major. Maybe just my volume levels or something over here wasn't set properly. I'm not 100% sure. The feel thing definitely swings to the amp. This is a kind of high headroom, super dynamic amp, and suddenly the Solid Studio doesn't feel as good to play. When I was comparing the power amp simulation on these two devices, I think the Solid Studio feels more kind of organic to play, for lack of a better term. But when using an actual amp, I think this thing is still kind of quite far away. It's something that doesn't probably translate on the recording that much, but just the feel of you kind of having more control with your pick attack and all of that. The amp is an amp, and this is just a digital power amp simulation. Good one, but it's a simulation. And that wraps up probably the nerdiest video I've ever done. If you made it this far, let me know by typing the word panda cat at the bottom, not the bottom, in the comment section below. If you found this video useful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, there should be a subscribe button somewhere on the screen. Remember to hit the notification bell as well, so you won't miss any of my videos when they come out. And yeah, thank you for watching. I shall see you next time.